My name is Jared Wallace, and today I'm going to be talking about technology in sports and the future of mobility as it's related to digital media and the communications that I had over the past week on various digital forums. I used three sources: Instagram, National Geographic, as well as Facebook. A few of the posts were my own, a few were posts that I engaged in. I was involved in all three posts in some capacity. And I will start with National Geographic's. I chose to interact more on their Instagram forum as the article only had a few comments and they were not very interactive. But their Instagram page has about 90 million followers, so I felt like that was a good place to engage with. At the time that I took this screenshot, there were 425,000 likes, as you can see, and over 3,000 comments. So I began to engage. I was fortunate enough to be published in this July issue of the magazine and regarding to technology in sports. So I was engaging with the audience on the topic, and then there was some controversial stuff as well, a few of which unfortunately they deleted before I was able to snatch, but it was neat to see the engagement in various types of communication. So I chose this to give an example, and you can kind of read through it. I won't give you the full analysis, but it was a very technical question, and was just interested in the biomechanics. So I engaged with Selects 1 in this conversation, challenged her to think, encouraged some of the ways she was thinking and seeing things. It was interesting to see people's perspectives. And then also just reactions based on the videos. And I noticed that on all the platforms I had, people were willing to engage if you were willing to have conversation with them. So everyone that I communicated with replied back at least once, if not multiple times. This was someone that, a comment that I'd kind of seen a few times, but commented on this. She just said, so I remember, Oscar Pistorius when I see this. Oscar was very famous Paralympic athlete, where it really started the conversation of technology in sports. And I just kind of joked there and said, now you can remember me, as Oscar is no longer competing. So this was just kind of a fun and light, and that person didn't respond, but I did get a couple other responses on that, and people just kind of saying, thanks for being communicative, thanks for being funny and light, and so that was neat to see. People were excited to just engage with me in this sense. This was a little bit interesting interaction. Cryptos was just making a point about the prostheses and the potential of technology allowing me to run faster, and someone took much offense to him in that regard and kind of went off, so Jilly kind of tried to defend me a little bit in that regard, and so I followed that conversation a little bit, so you guys can pause and read that if you would like. And then I kind of just addressed both of them and said, hey guys, I understood the perception and where you were coming from and what you're trying to say. I appreciate, your defense, and, Cryptos was not meaning any harm by that. So it was neat to, see their response and reaction to that, and willingness to kind of see both sides of the equation. It was also neat in this regard. I was kind of able to mediate in between two people. They were both kind of reactive in their response, and coming in and just being able to understand both sides and communicate that was, I got a really good response from that. So it was neat to see in this post specifically the variations of communication, technology side of things, and really getting to address the technique of stuff with certain audiences. Some people were just very encouraging, others were discouraging, and that's okay. And then there was something like this where someone maybe took an offense and got to come in and kind of mediate that a little bit. So I definitely had a lot of variations of conversations on this platform, and that was encouraging and exciting to see. The next post was one that I set up and had a little bit more control over. This was on my Instagram page, and I was just engaging my audience specifically and seeing their interest level. And this was the question I said, specifically related to prosthetic technology and blade running. Have we reached a point where technology, used under the right conditions, has surpassed human capability? I want to hear everyone's honest thoughts on this topic. So I had a lot of really great conversations with some of my followers regarding this, and some great questions that people had, and a lot of people, when you have engage an audience, what I realized is everyone really is interested in learning and engaging in the conversation, and sometimes maybe they don't know what to say or what perspectives to have on it, but if you create a platform for them to communicate, they are willing and will communicate. I was fortunate to have a doctor in biomechanics communicate on this topic. So he came from a really scientific side of things, and we got to have a really neat discussion on his perspective, both from just the biomechanical able-bodied side of sprinting, but also his experience with blades and technology that he's been fortunate enough to use before. So it was neat to have a conversation with him. And then there was an amputee himself who had some perspective based on his personal experience. So it was really neat to talk with his experiences and be able to communicate what I've seen and the technology that I've used as well as his. And then I thought it was great at the end. He said, it's seeing people like you give me hope that I could still live an active life. He lost his leg 4 years ago. It's still a work in progress, but he looks up to me, which was really encouraging to hear. So again, we had a few different opinions, but what I realized in this time is if you respect what respect people's thoughts and respect how they present content, and maybe just ask them questions, continue to dig deeper in that concept, or voice your opinion in a non-threatening way, most people are receptive to and open to learn. And then the last post was on Facebook, and again it was around the concept more of mobility versus technology, and it was just neat to hear someone from a different industry explain what mobility meant to them. And it was not a lot about technology in sports, but it was more about advances in technology in hotel industries. So I just thought that was really interesting how similar concepts and similar questions on various platforms drew different audiences. It was a blast being able to engage with various people, and I think I learned a lot from that. And then I think big picture, like I said earlier, is as long as you are willing to accept someone's concept and maybe engage them in a healthy, effective way, you're really creating an opportunity to have a voice and maybe create some change in various platforms. So it was a great lesson, and I enjoyed this project a lot.